I saw.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I have a bronchitis, which is not that great, as you can hear my voice probably. But apart from that, I'm good.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm
Oh, good.
on the on the last bit of it, so I should be good in 2, 3 days.
Oh, good. I used to get bronchitis a lot when I was younger. I don't know if it was like mold in the area we lived or whatever, but I caught it
Yeah.
just by looking at things the wrong way, and I would get it. It was
I didn't
hard.
have it. I didn't have it for a long time. But three young kids, they bring you something new every week.
I, they do. It's a new flavor of something every week.
Yeah, and they sit everything out in a day or two, and then you have 2 weeks. Beauty of parenthood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed, indeed. Uh,
So I'm fully on screen and also on camera in a few minutes, but
it's okay.
just frequently something. App or what's his first name? Mr. Guzman. Michael. Are they joining?
I don't know. I don't see anybody else yet. I mean, usually Guzman's here on time. I mean, he's pretty prompt.
Yeah.
I didn't. Let me just double check. I didn't miss a Slack or something. I never keep that thing open. At Google,
Yeah.
we have like all these internal tools we use, and
Yeah,
Slack's
I
definitely
know.
not one of them. Ah, Michael says he'll be 10 minutes late. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, we
if
can
you want,
start.
we can start. Yeah, and I think the thing I want to throw on the agenda was the MITRE call and,
Yeah.
and and sort of get your perspective, but maybe that'd be helpful to
Hmm.
wait for
Yeah.
Michael or others just so they can sort of get that. So besides that, I know that you and I have had some
Yeah.
conversations around other sort of verticals and topics, particularly around like
Yeah.
NATO and things
Hmm.
in the financial infrastructure and in the industry. I don't want to make this about our corporate sides of us, but I don't know enough about Frontier X's like overall
Yeah.
sort of activities and focus areas. But as I shared in last week's meeting, I'm trying to create a space for us to have a conversation as a bunch of different vendors with hopefully a bunch of regulators and a bunch of different industry
Hmm.
players around payments.
Hmm.
And it's not just me, of course. We're all in on this, but I got a vision that came to me one day. I'm like, if we could just figure out how to make the existing horrible payment ecosystem just a little bit safer, a little bit more confidential, or a lot more trustworthy, it would be the right thing to do. So from that, I've just been working my way towards, hopefully some kind of session where we could do a workshop with the TAC or others that might be good ancillaries as well, sort of like to prepare, some outreach. So it's almost like pulling a couple different groups together might be helpful without making it too much of a, too many chefs in the kitchen. But the outcome to me is, it's pretty clear is could we put, you know, sort of, we could encapsulate confidentiality, integrity, and availability around, things traditionally are very suspect and subject to fraud and
Yeah.
failure a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
anyways,
No,
long-winded way
totally.
of saying that, but.
What type of department in Google are you working for actually?
So which part?
Yeah, which part of Google?
Uh,
Because
yeah, uh, uh, yeah. Sorry, your audio is tiny bit garbled. I don't know if it's me or what. Yeah, I'm in cloud. I work for Nelly. So
yeah,
she runs the sort of a overall
yeah, I
security
know.
segment.
Mm-hmm.
I know you
Mm-hmm.
know her. I'm just saying that's what it's for. She said I sit in a spot where I mainly handle the key management, anything
Okay,
sovereign, anything trusted or regulated. That's my sort of preference for doing
okay,
this work. But my background is, heavily focused on encryption in
yeah.
software, hardware, clouds, HSMs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if it's got to be crunchy and sovereign and enclave-ish, like I care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I'm at the company Stanford, but I knew her before because she's with me on the governing board. Um,
Mm.
I'm also on the governing board of the CCC, so uh, actually,
Nice.
and she's the impression you of the cloud with a government. The efforts you're driving. Talk a little bit more about this if you do undercall or because I'm pretty sure I can help, but we can't have on undercall.
I I apologize. I caught like maybe three words out of the last 30 seconds. I was hoping it would catch up, but it sounds like it's like almost like a codec is failing. Maybe it's
Yeah,
your
okay.
bandwidth.
Yeah, it might be. Might be. Um,
Okay.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, I can. It's a little bit better. I restarted my browser just to see if that helped.
Okay, cool. No, the main thing I know Nelly, I met her in person the first time though in San Fran at the CCC conference, um, which was great. And can you hear me?
Yes. Still
Okay,
going
cool.
good.
Just double checking. And but I'm on the governing board of the CCC, so I sit with Nelly every 2 weeks. I was under the impression for some reason that you're with the GovCloud team too, but that's a different
They
one.
well they all sell the same stuff, and
Hmm.
Google, the way that we do it on the Google Cloud is, instead of making a dedicated Gov Cloud, we've made services and products that just run with our normal cloud in a government way. So it's like we got the IL5, IL6 solutions
Yeah,
that still work anywhere in the world, and that's one of our advantages. Like we don't have to go build another infrastructure that's, parallel. We just partition it through, really strong controls and cryptography and,
yeah.
contracts and stuff.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Um, yeah, and then one thing because of the things with SOCOM and all the others, I'm pretty confident I can help with a couple of things there. But I can never discuss them in a call setting like this. So maybe we do have an unrecorded separate call on this topic at some point.
I think that's right.
Could you could you hear me?
It's I can still hear you and I can see you. So that's
Okay,
good.
cool. Now it works. Everything works now. So I
Yep.
had something really heavy running also on my laptop, which is right on
Uh,
this side here, and maybe that used a lot. So maybe it's better now, hopefully. But yeah, so if you just send me an invite whenever it suits you, like 15 minutes, I can give you
yeah,
a few more points, entry points there. But you know the setting at CCC.
I do. Of course. Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
really helpful though. I think I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like these communities like this, where the world is very small, right?
Oh
It's like
yeah.
that we
Yeah.
all know each other, or one degree away from, whatever.
Hmm.
The challenge we quite often have is like balancing between like opportunity and, for like the greater good of the CCC, and
Yeah.
like how does that mess with the commercials and other things of things. I
I
know we have
know.
good guidelines and good rules and all that, but
Yeah.
when you start talking about like SOCOM, like it's a complicated conversation. You're absolutely
Yes.
right.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh,
All right,
let
cool.
me know and just ping me on this, and then we go from there.
Sounds good.
Michael,
Hey
there
there,
we
Michael.
Hey,
go.
how you doing, Jens? How you doing,
Good.
Solomon?
Good.
Sorry I'm late.
That's
You know how
okay.
work
You
goes
are
sometimes.
excused. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I almost had to like call an audible, say I might not make it all today, but I freed up, which was good.
Well, I'm
Uh,
glad you're here because I have a question for you, but we
42.
can get through the meeting.
I was told 42 is the answer to everything, so
Okay, fair enough.
done. Uh, cool. Let me just go through the obligatory stuff, and then we can just dive right in. So yeah, our standard antitrust policy notice. Please read it if you haven't read it before. It's very good. Telling you exactly what you're not supposed to be doing. The the CCC is here to really focus on open source license projects for data and use, protecting the rights of everybody to be here, make sure there's transparency, but also accountability. And with that, I think I want to just make sure we call to arms from last week and call to order. So I think last week and the minutes, which I have not had a chance to actually update in the slide or read yet, Michael. But I think the thing I took away from last week was we do have a couple of action items. I have one that I haven't done yet, which is sort of diving into handing over the CACAF to the TAC. I tried to get it done, and I'm having an administrative problem of actually adding people that are in the Linux Foundation sort of ecosystem into my Google ecosystem. So I'll get that sorted this week. It's my fault, my problem. But once that's done, I think we have to have a follow-on conversation with the TAC, sort of just like do a handoff, do a conversation. Dan is very eager to help. We had our the governing board update that I gave. That's one of the outcomes is the CAF's going that direction. Dan and team are going to help take it on. We'll probably have a couple follow-ons, like I just said, but that's really for us. It's a chance to sort of shift from being in the regulatory lane, trying to sort of like help craft or follow just the regulatory side of things into more of a standard side of things. And that's sort of what we talked about in our last session was, either payments or something like that, confidential transactions being a focus area for us. So that's sort of like the update from last to now. And I think we really haven't had a lot of activity on, the Slack or some other things we could probably improve on. But I'll be frank. I think from a time commitment standpoint, what we can get done in a given 2-week period is really going to depend upon what activities we have in front of us, and that's where I'm hoping to put a new activity in front of us, primarily around, like I said, payments while transitioning with the TAC. Any questions, or you do have a question? I know that, Michael. But any thing I didn't call out since our last meeting or since the governing board yawns that I should have added? Silent as consent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Michael, the floor is yours, my friend. What's the question today?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I was gonna wait on the question a little bit. That's fine. So I may need assistance with connecting with Nelly on a POC around that involves GCP and confidential spaces and um, confidential VM. So
Yes. Well,
okay.
happy to help. That product is my peer, and of course,
Right.
Nelly. I work for Nelly, so I can be whatever help you want. If you want to do something that's got, something CCC in there, I think we can find ways to figure out how to make it work. Or is this more like a JP Morgan pilot type thing?
There you go. The last part.
All right, we'll have a different conversation then on a different time. How about that?
Right.
Let's
Fair
do
enough.
that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, yeah. So as far as CCC related stuff, so I did. It looks like we're gonna go with Shellman. If you guys know who Shellman are, they're very big in the PCI assessment community.
Yes.
They have reviewed the document that I shared across around how, confidence computing can help reduce PCI audit assessment scope and meet certain DSS requirements. They seem very excited about it. We're supposed to meet tomorrow where they're going to provide a couple of their QSA's feedback and help clarify any questions for them. Looking at a timeline, hopefully we can have that all wrapped up and ready for external publication within the next 60 to 90 days. I'd like to talk about it through through this channel and not necessarily JP Morgan's channel, because we don't officially have a relationship with Shellman
Okay.
within JP Morgan. So That would be, and they're going to release it through their channel. And then if I hadn't said this before, the intent is not actually to publish this document. It's to then, once it's published and it's been peer reviewed, to pivot to the council. This would be Shellman's part, pivot to the council and say, would you publish this as guidance? So then once it's accepted as guidance by the council, that's when you start to see a lot more adoption within the PCI space. Nobody wants to do anything in PCI that the council hasn't blessed. So that's one avenue, hopefully, to increase that adoption. I've also shared the CAF with internal resources, some of the internal resources here at Chase, and they're providing some feedback on it. So I'll share that back
Okay.
across. But all in all, it really was, I didn't share with them for feedback. I shared it with them because they're working on writing control procedures for confidence computing internally. And I want them to make sure that we're aligning to what we're thinking about in this space as we seek to engage. And then,
Awesome.
I still think that it's a need for us to increase the participation of auditors and assessors to this particular group. So I don't know if anybody else here has their like CISSP or their CISA, part of the ISAC or ISC squared. But if they do, I was thinking that maybe we should go attend whatever our local chapter is and advertise it there at one of their meetings as well. See if we can gain some interest there because a lot of people that have those, not just operate in the security space, but a lot of auditors and assessors have that certification because it's a requirement for them to do certain audits and assessments. So
Awesome. I just spawned an idea. I mean, maybe we should reach out to other bodies, not just governing bodies, but and councils, but also operation bodies. So there's a group called the Center for Internet Security here in the States,
Yep.
and that group, they do all the ISACA stuff for all the U.S. states individually. So all 50 states plus territories, and they not only, these are the guys that have the top 20 controls sort of roll into them. All a bunch of ex-NSA and NIST guys, really good people, and I think they are always open to figuring out like how can they bring more secure guidance to critical infrastructure for the U.S. at scale, not just one project at a time. So it's those types of bodies that might also be, a good test ground. I know the founders there really well. They used to be customers of mine. So cool. No, good thoughts.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, perfect. I think that'd be really good.
Awesome.
Just
Hey,
trying to increase the attendance as best we can, right?
yeah. And as long as it's helpful and moving things forward,
Yep.
Awesome. Ab, how are you doing?
Good morning. Apologies, guys. Got to another meeting that I didn't realize, and then the Outlook didn't pop up. So sorry about that.
That's okay. It's totally forgivable. Yeah, I don't have a lot of extra things to put on the plate at the moment. We sort of did just a recap about where we are, transitioning to the TAC. It's my problem. I have to deal with it because I got an administrative problem with Google Drive, which I work at Google. I shouldn't, but I do. We have limitations on using our own stuff with other people that use our stuff. It's weird. So
No comment.
yeah, I know. I'm sure Office 365 doesn't have this problem either.
No, it's InfoSec. We have similar stuff at Intel. Like even, yeah. I was just teasing you. Yeah. No, I get it.
So I think where we left it, there's probably some offline conversations that can't be recorded that some of us want to have. So there's definitely there's a pocket of this stuff that's going to be around particular groups or of interests, military and U.S. Sort of critical infrastructure, things like that. So I'm gonna do my best to try to create a couple of calls in the next week or two, maybe 3, around those. So just everybody's aware. And then getting back to the payments or the transaction, POC and standard that sort of needs to come with it, because I'm proposing, at least this is my perspective, and Michael, maybe we're duplicating some things. You're coming at it really from the PCI, sort of structure, where I'm looking at like there's a bunch of things that they're individual islands that need to be stitched together through confidential computing, and so they're all sort of in the same bucket, and transactions and payments are really hard one to crunch on. So I think it feels like to me like it's both it's a POC and a standard that merges from it. Like how would one use this as a standard? Is there a body that carries that? I don't know yet. Maybe it's us. I don't know. But I guess I just want to sort of get general thoughts. I don't want to be in the solution business necessarily in this group, but I do want to have something that has North Star to it, that we have some control, versus less reliance on other people's success or bodies' approval. So with that, I'm sort of out of stuff on my side. Michael, thanks for your update. Jans or Ab, anything on your side that we want to talk about or dive into that we haven't?
Look, I know I'm coming in late. Did you cover the confidential payment standards already, or
Yeah, we did high level
slide
last
5,
week.
right? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh no, no, sorry, last meeting. Okay.
Yeah. So there's this sort of there we go. So I'll go through it real quick because I think I had this on last meeting, but it's really
if it's in the
trying
note,
to.
I'll go back to the notes. It's
Okay.
fine. And the recording, don't worry about it. I don't want you guys
Cool.
to
Uh,
spend time.
Cool.
But
I am gonna
I
put.
guess more at the high level, like we wanna get this to as a standard that CCC defines, or we take it somewhere else. I apologize for
Sure.
the like a simplistic question.
It's okay. It's before PCI was PCI, it was the wild west in terms of fraud.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what cross-border payments traditionally has been. There's pockets of of really strong governance controls and security, like the U.S. Fed. Like you don't get to steal from the Fed very easily. But there's also about 20 other things that attach to those pipelines that are just full of chaos. And so there's no global standards for global payments really. It's outside of credit cards. So that's sort of my argument is like there's a gap and a whole world that is just murky and dirty that really could use a framework that just takes those tools that they're already using and forces things like trust and integrity and confidentiality around every step along a payment. So some things are great. There's a lot of stuff that's not, and it's almost like creating a wall that you just can't enter and utilize these systems anymore without having confidentiality built in. So that's sort of the idea, is bring confidential to the very beginning of this sort of journey for global payments.
Okay. Can I play devil's advocate for a minute?
Sure, you can.
And then I love it, don't get me wrong, but like I'm just wondering, like it's more about scope creep. What I mean by that is I don't know if it's the right term here, but CCC is not doesn't define payment standards, and like maybe the name is a little bit like you see what I mean? Like
Sure.
it's more maybe about the name. That would be like for people. It's like, wait a second, you guys are confidential computing consortium. What the heck are you? Not you, but like being in CCC. Why are you guys like interfering? Not interfering, but getting yourself into
I get where
payment
you're going.
standards. You see what I mean? Like maybe the name. I'm not asking you to change it, but I can give you some suggestions. But I think that's the only concern I would have here. Yeah. Sorry, I know I'm a troublemaker. Sorry.
No. So, until it's got some.
You.
Yeah, that's fine. I think there's two parts here, right? There's the front up work, which is like, can we define the problem well enough, like we did with the CAF? We really define it pretty well. The problem I'm trying to solve is the the fact that there's a lot of differences within CC and it's confusing. This gives some rails. Same thing here. Like we're looking at payments as sort of the ecosystem that's applying that. So I mean, as a framework, this is very good. The key thing to focus on for this is not the data in use. It's going to be attestation. Every step along the way is like you're sealing a bag of evidence around a transaction. It could be like a dollar going from an ACH world onto a balance sheet, and then puts into a SEPA. This might be over whatever all the steps are that happen. Making sure that evidence bag goes with it the right way. That's really what I think it is. So it's standard might be the wrong word. You're right. It could be that's a goal, but it's not until we have a working framework that we can actually have a true POC around it, because a working demo solves all arguments.
100%. I was not even thinking within CCC. I was thinking outside of CCC. What I mean by that, if we go and talk about it as a standard external, like to other parties, hey, computational computing is great. It gives you, with all you just mentioned, basically all the evidence that goes with that dollar going from A to B to C to whatever, and you have like basically whether it's fraud detection, etc. So there's obviously real life cases like you guys, what you did with Swift, for example, right? That I don't know if that kind of what you had in mind or not, but anyway. So the point is, like, when we go and outside of CCC and we talk standards, people might get defensive. That's more. This is more about an optics than the actual content. So my mind is twisted a little bit sometimes, so I have to think about.
You know that the totality of truth is many different perspectives, right? So it's like we all have our own view and perspective on these things. So I appreciate it, and I think it's right. I think we come up with whatever the language is, but what's missing for me is like I want to see an architecture. I want to see even though it's just high level. Here's what a centipede looks like going from America to Europe to South Africa or something like that. Every step along that way is needs to be lined up. So it's definitely some opportunity for some work there, and I don't mind taking a little bit of time to on my side, but I'd love to get maybe a workshop or two together.
I would think actually, from my perspective, like whether the CCAF or CAF or this one potentially, like if let's say payment standard body, and I apologize for my ignorance, it's not a field I'm familiar with, wants to say, hey, we built this on CCC framework. Great. I would love to get to that point, right? It's just like for whatever standard bodies who are really working on payment standards, if there's whatever they are, as I said, I don't want them to get defensive. I want them to actually welcome CCC. Say, oh, you guys are really, we love this idea. Can we build on it? It's like, yeah, please. And then actually we obviously we need to get these frameworks to a formal. That's why I was again talking about like the votes and things like that basically validated by the CCC, like the voting and everything, and that's like, because if other bodies, industry bodies, start using them, we will need obviously to be very rigorous with the revisions, with changes, and we might have to obviously consult with them, because we don't want to change something that breaks. No, they usually like backward compatibility, like most people. So things like that, right? So I would really want to elevate these frameworks to, not me, but just collectively, we elevate them to really something that's very worthy of being used by standard body as really like a basis or so that's kind of like where I see it. So hence even the wording. I know I can be pedantic at times, but it's really for good reasons. I think. I hope.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very helpful.
Hi. Do you mind sharing the slide back? I had a question.
Yeah. Second. And if your question is probably going to be better than my slide is.
So this is is this scope to the point of sale? Like, are we scoping it to the transactions?
This is more not looking at PCI in this one. Doesn't mean we can't. This is where maybe Michael and others could sort of give their thoughts. I think there's a lot of opportunity to apply existing CC to existing different types of payments and banking globally. There's a lot of stuff that was supposed to have been sunsetted. There's a lot of just fraud out there, so people get duped. There's just a ton of things that they're looking to see, could you actually reduce the risk of certain parts of the transactions through zero knowledge proofs and stuff.
Yeah, so I think what he's describing there is not, and almost like PCI is like a red herring for this a little bit. So I'm gonna keep me honest here though. I think what you're describing is more the settlement actions that actually occur between inter-financial institutions. So Swift banking is one of them, where they're just sending messages back and forth. How do we secure that and make sure reduce fraud in that space? And same way with a few others that are out there.
But it's also it's the lead up to those sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a delay. I apologize.
That's okay. What I was saying was that I was not saying PCI, I said point of sale. So what I'm trying to understand is, are you focusing, or is this focused on where the actual transaction happens, which is the point of sale? Or is it about payment data sharing, or both?
It's a little bit of both, but probably more of a third, which is, to me, it's every step along the way right now is running on traditional hardware, or they're using things like HSMs that are underpinning a Swift terminal or Swift server. And it could be at the bank, at the institutional level. It could be at a private institution. So there's a lot of trade that's done, import, export, and all those things are at different levels of security. There is no standard PCI level requirements. They're sort of many countries, many rules, many messes, with some standards and things like SEPA and ACH, all that to touch a central bank, but it's all the things around it. They get a little murky. So I think my right answer is going to be, this is where we could flush this out more. There is an opportunity from beginning to end of a complicated, trade or institutional transaction, that every step along the way can not only be to use confidential compute to secure it, but use the attestation technique within it, because you might have the source of truth could be a contract that's actually a PDF, and that thing is going to be used as evidence or proof of funds at the end of something. And right now, these things just fly over the internet. There's no proof of a transaction or a sealing or any of those things. Everywhere there's a step along the way, there should be a confidential enclave that adds value through attestation and security as well.
Got it. What I was going to suggest was, that seems like a great goal. It also seems like boiling the ocean, but maybe you guys can do it, which is awesome. I'll be here to help. What I was going to say was, there's a pattern where I see some pockets of pain. One is point of sale for biometrics, right? I think usual transactions and all that with the point of sale have been figured out, but biometrics is new and emerging, and that hasn't been figured out, and there is extra need for confidentiality at that point of sale of biometrics, right? The second is the payment related data that is being shared for insights and analytics and all that. That's the second point of I don't know if there's standards or there's requirements that because this is payment transaction related data, you should do XYZ, some more checks, and then there's a third one which I can't relate to, but based on what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, I wanted to point out, as you mentioned, end to end, you want to create a standard. I just want to say that definitely a great goal, but there's some pockets of it which are more in pain of that end to end.
Yeah, and I
But I
appreciate
think you guys are talking about two different spaces at this point, right?
Is it?
So yeah,
Yeah.
because what you're talking about that's why I brought up PCI. You don't really have a point of sale terminal without credit card information. It's kind of like the only reason why you have point of sale terminals now, right? But this is on the actual settlement side. What he's saying is once it's settled, so bank A needs to send money to bank B, how are you ensuring that or from the Fed, for example, to bank A when it's allowing it to exchange rates at the window, how are they ensuring that those messages, those transactions haven't been fraudulently conveyed, right? That's
Yeah.
what I
So
understood Salman to
this
be
is like
kind
for
of expressing.
subrogation or something, like after all these sales and payments and have been happened, and then you're trying to settle that, okay, I need to pay you this, and
There's always three things that you need in a successful transaction. PCI covers this really well in the credit card ecosystem, and that is going to be messaging, compliance, and settlement. And the last thing, when you're talking about settlement, I mean, I've never worked at a bank, but I've helped build a lot of systems around banks. Everything at the end of the day is a ledger, and that settlement, really comes down to, can the receiving side of the transaction, whether it's a bank or a Walmart, whatever, can it actually settle into a credit, a currency, an asset, something that it can be recognized by the systems that received it. So in that world, there is just a lot of ambiguity. It's almost like having a 1,000 potential combinations around moving a dollar from A to B that it could go through. And what I think trying to articulate is there's this need for a settlement that has compliance and has the messaging all done within a confidential environment. The part I'm trying to say is the compliance part of that probably should include confidential compute attestations and sort of sealing along the way. It does not mean it can't be for POC or biometric. Those are absolutely in there. And I think where this conversation has brought us to, which I think it's good, we should think about it as it's a transaction, whether it's a PCI one, whether it's a SWIFT one. Like, could we have a framework that might have one or more use cases that get sort of adopted as standards? But to me, it's like we want to go out to the PCIs, we want to go out to the SWIFTs, we want to go out to the banking consortiums and say, hey, transactions, we want to make them confidential. We want to make sure that all these pieces are inside of a TEE, because only parts of it are right now in the world. Like, if you're on Swift, you're probably using an Encipher or a Talos HSM. I know that because that was my customer multiple times. So there's little pockets along the way.
Kind of always thought that blockchain was going to solve for it, but
I was gonna say, are you also considering DLT and NFTs and all that as well as part of this?
You should, but the nice thing is those bring some benefit, right? Now the node, if you're trying to create a private network or a permissioned network on these things, it helps that you have it running in some kind of physical secure thing versus somebody stole the wallet and stuck it up on a random cloud server, and now I'm part of a network that was supposed to be private. There's a lot of benefit to running these things inside of an enclave, including nodes of a blockchain. But yeah, blockchain was supposed to do a lot of things that it still could eventually, I think, but it's all comes down to rigor. I think that's what I'm arguing for. This is a bit of rigor that we could bring.
But what I'm thinking is, going back to what Ab was talking about earlier about the tiling problem of it, mentioning payments. If we retitle it to just being messaging, secure messaging, right, in the financial services space, that may be again help to clear up that we're not trying to solve for actual payments between secure institutions we're just trying to solve for how do they do it in a verifiable, attested manner. Because really that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no money being exchanged in those messages, just a message that tells you to move one to another, to add this zero to this and take it away from that.
you just nailed it, actually, right? Like, you can get this message, but if it's not compliant, you're supposed to reject it.
Yeah.
And if you can't settle it, it doesn't matter, right? They died. A lot of things died that last stage of settlement, because like it's just you're trying to send me an ancient Swift message that is compliant, but it turns out that it's an off ledger, bunch of money that doesn't really exist, because money is just ledgers. That's all it's ever been. It's that last bit of settlement where everything's got to be pristine to make it work.
Yep.
Anyways, I know we're probably like off the path a little bit, but I think the transaction framework it was helpful to get to this sort of state of something that we can go and work on a little bit, or at least dream up something that looks useful. Because I could tell you if we had sort of a framework, it'd be pretty easy to at least get a couple POCs up and running with people that actually like, oh, this makes sense. It adds more value. And I think that's the thing is we got to show that CC value that we bring. Cool. Anything else? Any topics? Questions?
Nope.
Cool.
No, hopefully
Awesome.
by next meeting I'll have something from the Shellman conversation. A more definitive timeline on that.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna wrap up a little earlier.
Yep.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.